Guys, I'm out here riding this 2024 Honda CBR 600RR, the US model to be specific. Now guys, I've never ridden this bike before, but after today's ride, I should have a much better idea of what this bike is all about. You guys stick around to the end of the video. I'll let you know if it's a purchase or pass. I'm Chaseontwowheels. Welcome to First Rides. Listen, you don't need a cardo to listen to your music if your bike sounds like this. But if you got some dope beats you want to listen to, 10% discount with the code in the description down below. But go team. Alrighty guys, that's what it looks like, that's what it sounds like. Now, before we get this first ride rolling, we have to thank our sponsor, Quadlock, which is by far the best motorcycle phone mount. As you guys can see, with the CBR today, we've got the fork stem mount that goes into the vibration isolator. That's going to make sure that your phone's cameras don't get messed up. And then, of course, we have the quad lock that locks into your phone case. Boom, just like that. Fantastic placement on the CBR. Thank you, Quadlock, for sponsoring the episode. If you guys want to get a discount on a quad lock, we've got a discount link for you in the description. With all that being said, let's get on this thing. You guys have been eating up the Revit Ritmo gloves lately. I think every first ride I do with these gloves on, one of you guys comments. It's always funny. Alrighty, guys, I'm 5'10" with a 32-inch inseam. And as you can see, I can very easily flat foot on both feet here. Absolutely fantastic. Now, guys, this is, as you can see here, a 2025 model. But here in the US, we do not get the brand new model that just got released this year. I believe we're going to get that in the 2026 model year. So we will have to see. With all that being said, there's nothing real fancy here, so we can get this first ride going. It's like a first ride from back in time, man. Also, guys, as much as I love it when you guys subscribe to the channel, I would love it if you guys joined our email list. We email you guys only one time a week, and we just let you know what's going on the channel, the videos we put out. So if you guys want to join us over there, we would love to have you. I'm gonna double check that my visor or my helmet is attached, because it's not. You guys ever leave to ride on your bike and you notice your helmet's not attached? Shit's terrifying. All right, there we go. Now we're safe. No traffic, no modes. Let's go. All right, no tickets today. No tickets today. Oh, man. Guys, Honda confused the hell out of us with this bike. This is a 2025 model, but if you look on the US Honda website, this is like the 2023 model that Europe got. So it's a little different. My numbers are as best as I can find. So if things are a little off, just know that there is a brand new model that got released this year in Europe. So there's a little weirdness online. So you guys have a little understanding for us in the comments, if you will. Alrighty guys, this is the first ride. Let's talk about body position. Now guys, I am on a inline 4 Super Sport. So there are going to be a lot of expectations, and they are all going to be met on this one. We've got a pretty hard seat that's relatively wide, holds my whole butt pretty well. My lower half is tucked way up, and my upper half is leaned over quite a bit. We are in a very race position on this bike, and obviously my arms are almost draped down on this bike. So whatever expectations you have out of a sporty body position, you're getting it on the CBR 600. Now the pro of that, when you are riding this thing like it's intended to, like on the track, this body position makes so much sense. When you are riding it anywhere outside of that position, It is terrible. It is hard to get your feet off the foot pegs when you come to a stop like this. It's just not made for city riding. Since we have this red light and a ton of traffic, I can go ahead and show you guys that we have no modes. The new model, from what I understand, has modes, but somehow here in America, we have this 2025 model that is still incredibly analog. Bro, this bike don't even have ABS, okay? That's how analog this bike is. Like, no aids at all. Aidless. The CBR, the US 2025 Honda CBR 600RR is aidless. It don't help you at all. So, powering the CBR 600RR is Honda's 600cc inline 4 that's good for about 113 horsepower and 49 foot-pounds of torque, and it's coming in at a weight of around 410 pounds. And, I mean, in town, my God, the power is just not there, guys. If you guys have ridden inline 4s before, y'all are probably familiar with the power on these motorcycles. That 113 horsepower is all up at the top of the rev range, which makes the riding the bike around town make it feel a little pathetic, because it doesn't have a lot of torque down low at all to really get you going. So power-wise, you're gonna feel it being very sluggish in an area where you don't really have the opportunity to really rev the bike out. Even if I put this thing all the way in first, I am still only going 5,000 RPM. My power is really not until I'm at around 10,000. So that's the kind of issue with these bikes. You have all this fun, crazy horsepower, but you don't touch it in town at all. You see what I'm saying? It feels like a machine that has so much power, and it's not being able to be utilized in this kind of setting. Talking about maneuverability here in town, it's kind of the same thing. Because of the rake and trail of this bike, it is not able to be moved in a direction very quickly. It takes time and energy to get the bike over, and at speed, that's fantastic. It's super stable, and it feels great when you need it in a situation like that. But in town, you just don't have that maneuverability that you would get on something like a hyper naked or a naked bike or something like that. I will note, for some reason, it is November 12th of 2024, and it's 80 degrees outside. And because of that, I have been noticing how hot this bike gets. I have been a little surprised. We've already done the camera car run on this bike, and I noticed it getting quite warm, which is a little surprising. One, that it's 80 degrees in middle November. Secondly, that this bike is getting hot. For some reason, I didn't expect it to get hot, and I'm gonna keep an eye on it for you guys, but so far I can start to feel it warm up. Overall, consensus for city riding this red light to red light crap, not gonna be fun. I tend to always ride these bikes real chill. I put them in like third gear, which is way higher of a gear than I need it to, and I just put one hand on the throttle, hold it with my legs, and I just kind of lean back with my other hand. That's the most relaxed I can possibly get on these machines. And the suspension is so hard that, dude, you feel every single bump. But let's get it revved up and see if that changes the story. This van doesn't know how to drive. That's awesome. Oh, God, that is a that is a smooth engine. Look at that. You can just rev it out. Oh, there is something about these bikes, man. These inline 4 cylinders. I cannot wait for the highway. Oh, I'm excited about it. Kind of scared, but mostly excited. Dude, just look how old school everything looks up here. Can you believe that this is a 2025 model? It's almost like this time capsule that you can actually buy right now, and everything's brand new, but it's just like it came from an old history museum or something. I kind of love it, I'm not gonna lie. All right, let's get some speed up under us and see how she feels when we're going a little quicker. The faster you go on one of these, the more the bike makes sense. Also, please do not drive crazy around other cars. That would be irresponsible of you. And I know I've been a super sport rider before. I know what you guys like to do. You gotta be careful though. the faster you go, the harder you push these bikes, you start to understand everything. When you're in traffic and you're stoplight to stoplight, you're sitting here riding this bike around thinking, what is the point of this machine? And then you start pushing, and then you start pushing a little more and a little more, and every little bit of push you do, the puzzle starts getting put together for you right in front of your eyes and between your legs. It is fascinating to me. I know none of you guys are watching this video for me to tell you it's a good city bike. It's not. It sucks. You're going to have to suffer through it. But let's get on the highway and let's see if my attitude changes there. I will say I'm having less of an issue getting my feet off and on the pegs when I come to stoplights compared to how that ZX-10 that I rode was. That thing, I actually had a problem getting my foot off the foot peg sometimes. I'm not having quite as much of an issue this time. Are you going to stop? I'm going to go around you if you stop. Okay, cool. Alrighty, guys. Let's find out how fast the 2025 Honda CBR 600RR will go from 40 miles an hour to 80 miles an hour, thanks to our buddies over at Law Tigers. I want to know this very badly, and we got a lot of traffic. This is going to be interesting. Have you ever asked yourself, I wonder how fast a CBR 600RR will go from 40 miles an hour to 80 miles an hour? I have not asked myself that question, but I'm about to answer that for everybody. All right, we are in the lowest gear, which is first. I am sitting back in the seat. All right, this is gonna be quick, boys. On your mark, get set, go. Jesus. I don't know when it hit it, but it hit it. Oh my goodness, all the way through first gear. What's the time on that? Oh, that was great. God, that's what I'm talking about. That is what I'm trying to sit here and tell you guys. When you get to rev these bikes out, everything starts making sense. The clouds go from just cloudy and gross, and they start opening up and the sun starts shining through. Oh my goodness, how cool. No traction control, no BS, no nothing. No, wait, no ABS or BS, I guess. Wow, that was fun. Revving these bikes out is a very intoxicating thing. I highly recommend everybody to experience it at some point in time. Alrighty, guys, let's talk about the highway on the CBR. Now, you got a lot of wind coming up if you're not tucked all the way in like this. When you do that, the windscreen does a pretty good job at it. You find it being a little low and hard for me to tuck all the way into. Now, that means I get a lot of wind on my chest, but luckily, since I'm leaned up so much, I can just lean into the wind. The wind just holds me up, and it is surprisingly comfortable on the highway. I will say with the revs about, what is that, 7,000, I'm getting some shaking in my handlebars. I'm getting some shaking in my foot pegs that I can tell. It's a little quick and vibrating. I'm not a huge fan of it. And so it's definitely there. What's the Cadillac doing? Don't love this. Please nobody hit me in my... Also, guys, like I said in the beginning, we have no aids here. That means no cruise control, no nothing. So you are just here on the highway. The mirrors, while they don't look great, they are doing a surprisingly good job. So I do appreciate those. And similar to the city streets, guys, the maneuvering you're going to have on the highway is going to be a slow and methodical style of steering. It's not going to be quick and aggressive, but like I told you guys, it feels right. It feels like where it needs to be. You don't want to be quick and aggressive. Look at that power, just nothing. Until you get it revved up, and now it's starting to go. Did you guys see how slow it was though? Obviously I was in the wrong gear and all, but that's that dichotomy on these super sports. If you are not in the peak rev range, they're actually slow. But if you ride it high up in the revs, they are rocket ships. We're not even in the range yet. We're just now at 10. God, that's just starting to get it revved out. Why is this a thing? I love it. I'm super here for it, but so ridiculous. All right, guys, honestly, for the highway, nowhere near as bad as I thought it would be. Let's get it revved all the way. Yeah. Look at that. We're not even in peak power yet. And I'm going nowhere. If you guys didn't realize, these bikes, when you get them leaned over, they feel so good. They feel locked, they feel planted. The show up front suspension on this thing, for me personally, is dialed in fantastic. That dude's truck looks wrong. That man needs to get an air suspension in the back or something. But yeah, guys, the suspension on this bike just happens to be set up really good for me. It's a little on the harder side, and I love it, but it's adjustable, so that's awesome. I love that you can adjust the suspension on a bike like this. So good job, Honda, there. I'm not going to touch on power on the engine. I've already kind of went over that. I hope you guys understand. Crazy amounts of power, but you gotta fight for it. You gotta get it up into the revs to get to it. Now, as far as transmission on the bike goes, you get a pretty decent hit. The upshift is a little soft. I wish there was a little more punch there. And the downshift, you get a little bit more of a punch going down. That's probably due to the fact that it doesn't have a slipper clutch, if I understand correctly. So there's nothing helping that transition. So definitely a little more punch on the down. And the gearing on this bike is crazy wide. Like, it is long. You got to go all the way up through the revs. But crazy characteristic of the inline 4 cylinders. That is exactly how they should be. That is how they are made to be. And that's a very big deal with these bikes. It's one of the things that makes them fun to ride in the right scenario. And in the city, it kind of is a hindrance because you just never shift. You just stay in the same gear. And that can get a little boring sometimes, unless you do the shifting up like I do just to kind of chill on it. But yeah, really tall gears. Now, on this bike, we've got front dual disc brakes, and they are Tokina, if I understand correctly. Not really an overall crazy brake company, but the brakes actually have really good bite up front. They really surprised me. I didn't have, I'm gonna be honest, my expectations out of the brakes were a little low. I like the big dual disc brakes, but you know, unless you see like a Brembo or something, you have pretty low expectations sometimes. These Tokinas I'm actually impressed with, and I like them a lot. On a bike like this, you're gonna wanna scrub speed off really quickly, and I think those are gonna do a fantastic job of that. Normally I would hit the brakes, but people have been driving kind of crazy today, guys, and I don't wanna chance it, so I'm not gonna do my normal slam on the brakes up here. Maybe we can do a little bit. Maybe we can do a little bit. God damn, boy. Woo! These things will get you stopped. But, huge thing. You gotta be careful because, like I said, you don't have ABS. Now, Honda does make a ABS model of the US markets 2025, and with these brakes, I would highly recommend you look into getting the ABS model if you can afford it, because in a rainy situation, with the brakes being that strong, it's going to be inclined to lose the rear if you're, not really soft on the brakes. So something to be cautious of there. Now, let's talk about the dash and the controls, because it's kind of interesting on this bike, right? We do not have a lot of stuff going on. We've got our brights, our indicator, and our horn here on the left. And then on the right side, it's all the turn-on stuff. It's your kill switch and your starter. And then the only other buttons are the old school buttons up front on the dash. We also have an old school needle tack, and we have a digital odometer on the right side. And you can cycle through a couple really basic stuff. And we have a whole section for a gas gauge on the left side. That's it. But like I said, guys, there's no ABS, there's no traction control, no modes, no nothing. So there's really not a lot of stuff to show. And I gotta say, a 2025 bike with a needle dash is pretty freaking cool. It's very old school. It's very fun. I love it. And with the bike being as simple as it is, I think it's perfect. This bike does not need a TFT color dash and showing you all kinds of stuff. I love that it looks like the exact same dash as like a 10-year older CBR 600. As long as it fits, that's what I love, and this bike really fits. And I love you can get a brand new bike that looks and feels like this. Too many bikes these days have too many rider aids, and it's cool that those bikes are there, but it also kind of sucks that we don't have the opposite, right? Well, Honda is making that a thing, and for that, Honda, we appreciate it. All right, so guys, I know y'all have been looking at all that cool camera car footage, and we can bring you guys that camera car footage thanks to all the sponsors you see on the show. If it wasn't for those companies sponsoring us, we would not be able to do that for you guys. So anytime you guys are able to support them with our links in the description down below, it is a huge help to us, and we really appreciate it. But we're gonna do a pull-off up here, and we're gonna do a little walk around of the 2025 CBR 600RR. Bro, we get the fancy Ferrari. We had a McLaren go past earlier. Do we just have a lot of nice cars out riding today? We must. We're on the we're out here doing a first ride on the right day. All right, but guys, we're gonna get pulled off and check this bike out. Straight out of the history books, it feels like. A little punchy on the power. It doesn't have the torque to keep pushing you through, but it has an initial bite that I think you guys need to be careful of. If you don't know what you're doing, you don't have good clutch control, you can get yourself in a tight spot. Hey, we're gonna get our parking spot. Hell yeah. Oh, I've been missing it. That terrible person that's been stealing lot 147. We've had to move to lot 146 for the last couple first rides. Not today, baby. 147 is back. Let me see my 147 gang in the comments. Alrighty, my friends. Let's get it all in neutral. Alrighty, guys. It might be hard to believe, but this is a 2025 US model Honda CBR 600RR. If you told me this is a fresh 2016 that somebody kept in their garage, I would not be able to know. I love this though. This is the thing I've always loved since before I started riding bikes. The CBRs having the rear exit exhaust to me was always such a big deal, and I love that they still do that. We appreciate it. I actually like the gray a lot. I don't think it's a real poppy color. It doesn't show it off very well, but I think it's a good color though. Also, what a mean looking front, man. This is so crazy that this bike exists. I love it. I'm going to move this leaf before it catches on fire. Oh, dude, it's actually crunchy. That's awesome. Alrighty, guys. That's the walk around though. Pretty typical, fully fair super sport. Look how clean the bike is. You guys might argue with me, but I feel like super sports are made to have rear exit exhausts. You let me know in the comments down below your thoughts, but that's where I am about it. Guys, I'm going to grab my phone off the quad lock, and we are going to do some vertical content for our buddies over on TikTok and Instagram. If you guys aren't following us, links in the description down below. We're at Chaseontwowheels on TikTok, and we're at C2WPics on Instagram. I'm going to film some stuff. I'll be right back. Alrighty, my friends, that's it for the vertical content. Shout out Quad Lock for making such a solid phone mount. I love it on the Super Sports. The fork stem mount is such a good mount. All right, let's do a steering stem lock test, and then let's find out if it's a purchase or pass. Is it in? Oh, it's in gear. All right. Oh, God. This one might not be great. We will find out here in a moment. Oh, my God. We're going all the way across the road. Ah. You guys know the answer. Bottom 10%. I'm sorry, CBR. Nobody had higher expectations than that. It is what it is. God, you guys ever you go out for a ride and the air temperature is literally perfect, but sitting in the sun, you just boil? That's today. Like when I'm rolling, bro, air temperature is so good. Oh, intoxicating. Oh man, what a cool experience. I would not have thought I'd have got to do a first ride like this in 2024. That's kind of nuts. All right, guys, purchase or pass on the 2025 US Honda CBR 600RR. Honestly, it's a purchase, dude, honestly. There is no other bike on the market right now that is a 600cc super sport that takes so much away from you. No rider aids, no traction control, ABS, wheelie control, modes, nothing. And you can get this bike in 2025. This is one of the few motorcycles that throws it back old school and lets it literally just be you and the motorcycle. And it does all of that in a platform that can bite the rider so hard. A 600cc inline 4 ridden to the red line is not something to play with. It has got aggressive power if you're up there. And with no rider aids, this thing can get dangerous. So here's a couple things I'll say. If you are a newer rider, avoid this at all costs. And if you are a new rider and you're set on it, get the ABS model. The brakes are that powerful to where you will need those. They could really save your butt. If you are a more experienced rider and maybe you already own a motorcycle that has a lot of tech in it, like an MT-09, but you want something raw, this would be a fantastic motorcycle. And it would give you a better understanding of what riding you have to do to really control bikes without all the rider aids. I think it would be a fantastic complement motorcycle to have with something more new aged, or maybe a track bike, because you don't got to deal with any of the rider aid stuff. In an environment like that, I could really see this bike being awesome, because it's just you and the bike, so you got nothing to interfere with your riding experience. Like when you're riding, there are times where when you're on a bike that has a lot of rider aids, you start questioning, was that me or was that the rider aids? And it's a little confusing, and sometimes the bike won't exactly be doing what you want it to do. It won't be putting as much power down and stuff like that. And you're like, what is going on? But sometimes it's the traction control kicking in or something like that. With this bike, if it does it, it's because you are controlling it to do that. And I realize that's kind of a opposite conversation to what we normally have here on First Ride. But guys, I typically like rider aids. I'm a fan of them. I think they are awesome to have, especially on a bike you're going to be riding on the city streets, because you are going to be put in a lot of situations you don't necessarily want to be in. So having anything to help you stay safe, I think, is awesome. So I don't love this bike as a street bike, I'll put it that way. But I love that you can get such a analog motorcycle in 2025. That's pretty awesome. And for that, Honda, I appreciate you. Also, I imagine in 2025, we're going to be getting that new model CBR 600. So this is probably the last of its kind, which makes it even cooler of a bike. So anyways, guys, big shout out to Mountain Motorsports in Roswell for allowing us to loan the bike out. If you guys want to check them out, we'll have links in the description down below. If it wasn't for them supporting the channel, we would not be able to bring you guys this first ride. So that is where we're going to take this bike back to. And guys, I'm Chaseontwowheels. If you made it to this point in the video, you're in the outro crew, let me know what you think about the 600RR from Honda. Do you like that it has literally no aids right now? Or would you prefer the next model 600 that the rest of the world got, that all the aids, all the rider modes and stuff like that? Which one would you prefer? And guys, share this video out with somebody that likes motorcycle reviews and bring them into the First Ride world with you. Alrighty guys, I'm Chaseontwowheels. You guys go out there and ride safe. I'll see you on the next one. Later.